You ever feel like you're just drowning in information? I mean, we are bombarded every single day with this endless fire hose of headlines, but does it actually make us any wiser? Today, we're going to fix that. We're going to learn how to filter out all that noise and find the signal that actually matters.
Just think about your news feed for a second. It's a non-stop scroll of celebrity drama, political outrage, wild crime stories. You know the drill. It's all designed to just grab your attention for a split second. But does any of it really help you understand the world on a deeper level? Yeah, most of the time, not really.
So here's the big question, right? How do we get past all that chatter? How do we spot the stories that are quietly but fundamentally shaping our future? Well, it turns out there's a really simple but incredibly powerful framework for doing just that. A way to process the world that goes way beyond just knowing the news.
Okay, let's get into it. The framework is called Viri-Ari-Puri, or VAP for short. It's this fantastic three-step mental model that comes from the Tamil concepts for spread, know, and understand. You can think of it as your own personal toolkit for turning all that raw data flying at you into real, actual knowledge.
Step 1 is Viri, which means to spread. This is all about casting a super wide net, looking past the usual talking heads to just capture the raw event. No spin, no hot takes, nothing. Just the basic, verifiable what happened.
Next up is Ari, which means to know. This is where we go from just the headline to the real foundation of the story. We gather the background info, the data, the technical stuff, who are the key people involved, what's the history here. This is where facts start to push out the feelings.
And finally, we get to the most crucial step, puter, which means to understand. This is where the magic happens. It's where we translate all that complicated information and jargon into a simple answer to one single question. Why does this actually matter? What does this mean for me, for us, for the world? This is what turns information into wisdom.
All right, enough theory, right? Let's put this framework to work. We're going to apply it to 3 really high-signal stories from February 2026 that you probably missed in the daily chaos. First up, we're heading to space.
So let's start with Viri. What's the raw event? Simple. After more than half a century, a crew of 4 astronauts is getting ready to leave low Earth orbit and fly around the moon. That's it. That is the core, undeniable fact.
Now, let's get to Ari, the context. This crew is making history before they even leave the ground. It's an incredibly diverse, international team. And this isn't a landing. It's a 10-day trip designed specifically to test all the critical life support systems you need for deep space. And get this, they're going to fly farther from Earth than any human being ever. And just to give you a sense of that scale, they're going to travel 6,400 miles beyond the far side of the moon. The old record from Apollo 13 stood for decades, and Artemis 2 is just going to completely shatter it.
And that brings us to Peregrini, the understanding. What does it all mean? Well, this mission isn't just a nostalgic trip back to the moon. It's the essential test drive we have to take before we can build a permanent base up there. It is the critical link between the short sprints of the Apollo days and a future where we are actually living and working on another world.
Okay, let's jump to our next story and see how the VAP framework helps us here. We're shifting gears from outer space to, well, the inner space of our computers. A really fundamental change is happening with artificial intelligence. So here's the Viri. The tech world is making a huge pivot. We're moving away from generative AI, the kind that answers your questions, to something called Agentic AI, which is the kind that actually executes complex tasks all by itself. So the shift is from an AI that talks to an AI that does. So, what does that actually mean? Let's get to the Ari, the context. See, unlike the AI we're used to that needs constant direction, Agentic AI can create its own multi-step plans. It can monitor the results, and it can execute entire workflows from start to finish. It's less of a tool and more of a collaborator. And this is not just some theory for the future. This is happening right now, and it's having a huge impact. The speed of adoption is just staggering. 74% of executives are already seeing a return on their investment in Agentic AI within the very first year.
So what's the Puri here? The implication is it's profound. We are literally moving from a world of digital assistants that we command to one of digital employees that we collaborate with. Our role changes completely, from being the one doing the tasks to being a high-level manager of these autonomous systems.
Okay, for our final story, let's use the framework one last time on a breakthrough in biology that honestly sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. It could change what it even means to grow old.
The Viri here is simple and it's absolutely stunning.
On February 12, 2026, researchers published a study announcing they had discovered a protein called DMTF1 that can basically turn back the clock on aging brain cells.
Now, for the ARI, the science behind it. So as we get older, the stem cells in our brains that create new neurons, they kind of get tired and just stop dividing. Scientists found out that the levels of this one specific protein, DMTF1, just plummet in these old cells. But by restoring that protein, they found it's like it unlocks the cell's DNA, reactivating all the right genes to start renewal and growth all over again.
And the Puri, understanding what this really means. For so long, we've just accepted that brain aging is a one-way street. This discovery, it's like finding a refresh button for the brain's own internal repair crew. It totally shifts the conversation from just managing cognitive decline to maybe, just maybe, reversing it at the cellular level.
So, a mission to the moon, the rise of AI colleagues, and a reset button for the brain. 3 completely different stories, right? But each one is a powerful signal of a massive change happening just beneath the surface, the kind of thing that gets totally lost in the daily noise.
And that's the whole point of the Viri-Ari-Puri framework. It's not about consuming more information. It's a tool to completely change your relationship with information. It's about you becoming a curator, not just a consumer. The goal is to build this solid foundation of knowledge that lets you see the world and understand it way more deeply.
So I'll just leave you with this question. As you go about your day, think about the stories that you come across. Try to cast your net wide, gather the real context, and then ask yourself why it truly matters. What was the important signal that you might have missed today?